So up till now we have discussed till the here till standard deduction basis. Now we'll start with income part, starting with line item 1. So today we will be discussing about line item 1 from A to Z. Okay. Now, first thing that if you see, all of these line item ones are nothing but income from wages or salaries or bonuses. So income from the employers basically. Okay. So first line 1A shows the total amount from form W2 box 1. So most of the time, in order to report any wages, you will receive form W2 from your employer, and that W2 needs to be reported in form 1040. Now, in order to understand what amount needs to be reported in this income section of line item 1, you should know how W2 works or what is form W2. So this is form W2. I'll explain this in brief, like what all are there. So if you see, form W2 is divided into two parts: alphabetical serial orders and numerical serial orders. So alphabetical serial orders are mainly for the basic information about the taxpayer. SSN, EIN, or EIN will be like, so SSN is like PAN in India for the employee. EIN is PAN for the company from where, or the employer from where salary is given to the employee. So EIN, then employee's name, address, and zip code. So it will be the employer's details. Then we have control number. Control number is not mandatory, it is optional. Employer can create their own control number for each W2s. So it is, you can say, a reference number of W2. So, okay, so it is optional and it is reference number, can be considered as reference number. Then we have employee's name and address, name and last name and address. So in this box, employee's details will be there, right? Now, if we talk about numerical series, so first box number is wages, tips, and other compensation. So the total amount that is reported by employer in this box will go directly to box number 1A. Okay. Although if we talk about software, in software, you have to fill this form W2 as it is. So there is a provision wherein in the software itself, this kind of format will open, or similar to this format will open in the software, and you have to report as it is box number wise. So generally what happens in the software, they will, if as and when you will be clicking on form W2, you have to see where box A is given, box B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, likewise. And you have to just copy paste it. Whatever the taxpayer is giving it to you to report it in the return. So you just need to replicate it in the software. Okay. However, we'll still see how manually these things work so that you know the how you know better. Like you can understand it better. Okay. So wages, tips, and other compensation will come in line item 1A. Then we have federal income tax withheld. Federal income tax withheld is nothing but TDS in India. So this whole W2 is similar to form 16 of India. Okay. So in that also you withhold certain taxes, which we call as tax deducted at source. So this is federal income tax withheld, which will be shown in line item 25A here as federal income tax withheld. So this is something like, if you see, first you have calculated the total income. After that, certain adjustments are made which may be subtracted from the total income. Certain people get certain deductions, more deductions than available, so that you will reach to the adjusted gross income, from which further standard deduction or itemized deduction is there. We'll discuss everything. So after that, you will reach up to the taxable income, on which you will calculate the tax on line 60. Once tax is calculated, there may be some extra taxes that needs to be added on line 17, and then on that total taxes, you may get certain credits, tax credits on line 19 and 20. After that, you will reach to the level where total taxes needs to be paid or payable. Okay, liability. Tax liability will be here on line 24, from which whatever amount has been withheld or paid by your employer, obviously that will be reduced from the tax liability, and remaining will be, if extra withheld, then you will get refund. If less withheld, then you have to pay the taxes. Okay. So this is one thing for federal income tax withheld. Then we have social security wages, Medicare wages, social security tax withheld, Medicare tax withheld. So these four are completely ignored for income tax purpose. These are the payroll taxes. And you have to ignore this when you are filing. Although you don't have to ignore because you in the software you have to report it, but again software will also ignore this. This is not reported anywhere in form 1040. Okay. After this, we have social security tips. So whatever social security wages you are reporting, social security tips are reported separately than the wages. So this social security wages is not like separate wages a taxpayer is getting, or Medicare wages is not something that extra taxpayer is getting. This are the wages that has been reported in box 1. Maybe there may be certain wages which are excludable uh, from box 1, which will be reported in social security, which are taxable for social security, right? So there are three kinds. So mainly, let's say if $100,000 is a wages, tips and compensation that you have reported in box 1. Out of this, let's say, or maybe something like, you can say you have calculated this after deducting a after deducting the deductible expense. Deductible expense may be like what we call 104K, 401K, in 401K annuity plan. Okay. So this is a deductible expense for wages, tips, and other expenses, but it is not deductible for social security wages. Hence, let's say 401K plan is for $20,000. So ideally it was 120, from which you have subtracted 20,000 of 401K to reach wages, taxable wages of $100,000, right? But for social security, it will be included, and you will report 120,000 instead of 100,000 over here, right? So in this way, we will be having 100,000 here, on which federal income tax will be calculated, 120 in social security and Medicare, on which 6.2% and 1.45% flat rate is there, which will be withheld by the employer. Okay. Now, there are certain other things, like for social security, there is a limit. For 2023, it was 160,200. For 2024, it has increased. So if your wages is more than 160,200 or the threshold limit, then 6.2% will be calculated on the threshold limit, not more than that. So maximum limit is this, which you can find in the W2 instructions. Medicare has no maximum limit, but there is a limit of $200,000. That means over and above $200,000, you may have to pay 0.9% extra. Okay. So 0.9% extra you have to pay over and above 1.45%. So these, anyways, you have to ignore these things, right? You have to focus on this. So in this, let's say in the wages tips, you have tips of maybe $5,000 also included, okay, as an income. So that 5,000, so what will happen? Social Security, in that case, it will be 115 and 5,000 will be separately reported as Social Security tips. Okay. It's just the way of showing it differently. Okay. Now, out of this 5,000, there is a concept of allocated tips. Allocated tips means employer have allocated at the end certain tips to the employees. Okay, so maybe an employer directly have received the tips, so they have reported directly as a allocated tips on which federal income tax, social security tax, and Medicare tax have not been calculated yet. So this figure needs to be reported in 1040 so that these all taxes are calculated and paid by employee directly. Okay, so this amount will go on line item 1C, tip income not reported on line 1A. One is here, and in this you will report those tips also which have not been reported by employee to their employer. So both the tips will be included here. Okay.